I know it's just one of the biggest things that we've been facing here is the criminalization of the poor, especially in Lancaster City, where they have passed ordinances to push the poor out because they built $1 million condos, and the people in the $1 million condos didn't like looking down and seeing poor folk. So they passed all these ordinances and these things to, people cannot lay down now in parks. People cannot have blankets in parks. They cannot have anything and food in parks, things that we've heard already. And the biggest thing is that now we're talking about, being displaced as poor and being pushed out into Columbia, where we are now. Other parts of the state getting pushed out of that area because they've gentrified Lancaster so bad that my wife and I rent a 1-bedroom apartment, and it's $1,300 a month basically for a 1-bedroom. And it's outrageous. I was just talking to a gentleman the other day at the food pantry that we started here in Columbia. He was a homeless individual that, what's his biggest barrier to housing and everything? And his thing is he can't even get into a shelter because he's disabled. That's the whole thing. He has diabetes. He's got palsy in his right arm. He cannot they will not house him. He's a liability to them. So what is he to do? He sleeps out on the streets, and he's one of the main people that, I believe that Jesus talked about that we need to take care of. It's just one of those things that in the richest country that ever existed, how are we having this situation? And it comes down to a simple point of greed of a small class of people that have the means to control the larger mass of people. And that's what we are running into in so many areas with this. One thing we're also running into, then I'll pass over to Pastor Mark Harris here, is the white Christian nationalists are using projects of survival themselves to recruit now on their side. One thing that we've been doing with the food pantry is really trying to talk to people and really trying to get people educated on what's going on, because if we don't, they will. And that's what it comes down to. They are recruiting. They are pulling their masses together. They are providing a need. A lot of it's food, but they're also using that, that wonderful thing that our society does is that individualism pushing. You need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's not what we've talked about here, where we need community. One of the things I learned in my time, my life is being, alone for a lot of years and not having anyone in my life, is that nothing got done. In life, you need people. We are communal creatures. We are connected to each other on a chemical and a molecular basis that is undeniable. Scientific law. It's not just, an idea, it's law. So it's one of those things where it comes down to this is we're in the time of Advent right now. And, I look at Advent as a time of action. I don't look at Advent as a time to sit back and rest on your laurels and think, woe is me kind of thing. This is a time to fight. This is a time to get involved. This is a time to do what you need to do in your community, to step up and be a leader. And maybe, you can show someone a different way that they can become your leader then. So it's that process of just replicating yourself and growing forward. So with that, do you have...
Oh, me?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's my turn. Hi, my name is Pastor Mark Harris. I use any pronouns. I am the pastor at Historic Salem United Church of Christ in Columbia, Pennsylvania, where we are right now, where we're joining you from. I am a Medicaid recipient, and my household is a SNAP beneficiary. I have chosen to serve at a small church in a poor community, so I'm a poor pastor, despite the fact that my ordination, which should happen sometime early next year, requires me to get a $100,000 degree. I'm going to start big and go small. And when I say start big, it was back in the early 2000s. I heard something, and I heard it in stock market circles. And the term was destructive technology. And at first I heard that term and I was like, oh, so that's people like investing in cruise missiles and things, right? Destructive technology. That's not what they meant. You know what they meant? This. This was a destructive technology because it destroyed another technology that had already existed, the landline. The landline, which took a huge amount of more of people to be employed in order to make the system work. This was designed and created to use far fewer people than any other communication system before it. Other examples of this are ATMs, self-service checkout aisles. All of these things are basically destroying jobs. They are destructive. They're not cruise missiles, but let me tell you, they're going to blow up your life if you're depending upon an income from one of those jobs. And right now, we are staring in the face during Advent, of one of the greatest destructive technologies we have ever seen before, AI. We are coming into a time when more and more and more jobs will become obsolete. And yet we continue to persist with this belief that all you have to do is work hard enough and you will be able to earn enough money to afford all the things you need. How? How is that going to work when there are not enough jobs for people? It's not going to work. That's the bottom line. I think that safety nets are really, really wonderful. I think they're a really great idea. If you're walking on a tightrope, but if you're not walking on a tightrope, why are you depending upon a safety net to keep you safe? We need to have a system that is designed for all of the people who it's supposed to be serving. Money was created as a lubricant. If I make chairs and Tammy makes bread, well, I need bread, so I'm going to trade Tammy a chair for some bread. But you know what? She doesn't need more than 1 or 2 chairs, but I need bread every week. So you know what? Here, let's do this. It's money. Here, I can give you money. Now you can go use that to get whatever you need and to use for other things. Well, what happens when any lubricant gets bunched up into one place and stuck there? It bunches up, it screws up everything, and it keeps the machine from working. That's the situation we're in now. We have wealth that is hoarded and not enough with the people who need it. It's supposed to make things easier, and instead it's making everything much more difficult. We started a food pantry in response to the loss of SNAP benefits when we were in the middle of the government shutdown. The Pennsylvania state government was also in the middle of a budget shutdown there, and our wonderful county commissioners decided that they were going to basically stop all services until they got a state budget that was going to continue to pay for them. We started a food pantry then, and I have learned a great deal in a very short amount of time. One of the things I learned is that people are depending upon food pantries like the one that we started in order to make ends meet, because they are paying $1,600 in rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in this little podunk river town of Columbia, Pennsylvania. It makes no sense. I don't understand how anyone believes that anybody can live with that as the circumstances that we're supposed to be living in. The other thing I learned was we're working with other 2 food pantries that are in town here, and one of them had a Thanksgiving meal giveaway. This was a hot meal giveaway. They had someone come in late in the evening. This was done by a local restaurant called Bully's, out of the goodness of their heart. Wonderful outreach. Love it. And ordered 22 meals to go. That's the one thing that we found when we started doing soup with our food pantry, is that everybody wanted to go. And we thought, okay, I guess we'll freeze some so they can have some for later. That's not what they were asking for. The reason this individual came in to order 22 to-go meals, as well as having a meal themselves while they waited for those to be prepared, was because they lived in one of the 2 project towers here in Columbia, and they had taken orders from homebound and bedridden people up and down those towers in order to see who needed fed, and then went out, got their own free meal, and took it upon themselves to bring those meals back to all the people who were hungry and without a meal in those project towers. So we have the working, able poor taking care of the disabled poor. There's a Mennonite theologian that I like a lot called Stanley Hauerwas, and he said something that y'all aren't going to like at all. He said, nobody has any rights. There aren't any such thing as rights. He wanted us to flip that script and start to look at it in a different way. And the other way that we were to look at it was, we have obligations. We have obligations to
What's up, Jake? What's up? Hey, how you feeling?
Well, somebody mute that.
Yeah, they got it.
Okay.
And those obligations, here's the question I want to ask. How are Gerald and Amy going to meet their obligations to help their fellow human being when they can barely make it on their own? In the meantime, our society has invested huge amounts of money and power in a power structure that seems to not see any obligation to the rest of us. That has to stop. I'm very inspired by everything that I've witnessed here. This is my first National Union of the Homeless meeting, and I will be back. Thank you very much for letting me speak.